How did Wemmbu, the player who wasn't great at PvP, the player who was constantly getting pushed around and betrayed, became one of the strongest players on the unstable SMP, with beating Flamefrags and earning his reputation on the biggest hardcore server, the unstable universe? Wemmbu started on the unstable SMP as a normal player. If we don't count that he's a main character, at that time he wasn't that good at PvP and barely any players were intimidated by him. He also wanted to ban Spoke from the server, because he caught him duping and using illegal exploits to ruin the server. He tried doing it himself, but he wasn't successful, so he called for help the biggest empire on the unstable SMP at that time, the PrinceZam Empire. They agreed on a deal that PrinceZam and his empire would help him ban Spoke, but in return he would help PrinceZam with something. And that something was to build him a civilization around the world. But he didn't say what was in the world. As Wemmbu started building the civilization, he was attacked by many different players on the unstable SMP, one of them even being Flamefrags that we saw as PrinceZam's guard, which didn't make much sense. So Wemmbu just continued building the civilization, making huge defenses, recruiting citizens, but it still wasn't enough. Flamefrags was able to beat him, made him run, and he blew up most of the civilization. But as Wemmbu came back, he found PrinceZam and his guards waiting for him. They've chatted for a bit, revealing that Flamefrags was actually hired by PrinceZam to kill Wemmbu, and also that Wemmbu was the entire time protecting a vault with nothing in it. Wemmbu was at the lowest point he had ever been. He was that bad on it that PrinceZam didn't even try to kill him. He just said,
"You are just like so unbelievably weak that I'm not even gonna try to kill you. You're not a threat to my empire, not even a little bit."
That was the moment that Wembu's hunger for power began. He decided to destroy the PrinceZam Empire and that he would get so strong that this would never happen to him ever again. His plan was to nuke the PrinceZam Empire using orbital strike cannons, but because he was broke, he didn't have the resources to do it. So he teamed up with Barrett, and together they built one orbital strike cannon to raid Boosper's base and steal a lot of treasure from it. And with finally enough resources, he and some other players attacked the PrinceZam Empire and completely destroyed it, leaving Wemmbu and PrinceZam in a 1v1, in which they were both fighting with almost no resources left. But then suddenly, Manepear showed up, taking both Wemmbu and PrinceZam hostage because they didn't have any gear to fight back. He took them into a giant inescapable prison called Proton, but Wemmbu just escaped. But Manepear caught him again, putting him in an escape room where Wemmbu got his hands on the Minecraft's strongest weapon, the mace. And yeah, he also escaped. By that time, he already got pretty decent at PvP, with him having the strongest weapon in Minecraft. He started to gain some respect, but he still wasn't satisfied. He wanted to be better. That's why he traveled to find someone who could take him to the next level. Someone who could not only make him a strong fighter, but someone who could make him one of the best fighters on the unstable SMP. And that someone was none other than Manepear, the combat master. With Manepear's coaching, he was able to kill some golden stream players, which was the second best rank you could get in the Mafia. For those who don't know, Mafia was the strongest and the biggest civilization at the time. But he also found something powerful. Something that even the best PvPers on the unstable SMP have problem fighting against. Or should I probably say, someone? Yep, it was Action, the player who has killed the diamond player. The player who has saved Wemmbu from dying in the void. The player who has sacrificed himself for Wemmbu in Farlands, making him stuck in the end just so Wemmbu could achieve his goal. We will get to it later. He found him when he was just minding his own business and then he saw some Invis player, meaning it was a player from the Mafia. Because the Mafia has two rules. First one is that you need to be always invisible, and that's why it's called the Invisible Mafia. And the second one is that when you join the Mafia, you need to set a stasis chamber, so if you started making some mess, Ashwak, the leader of the Mafia, could just instantly kill you. Keep this in mind, it will be important later. So he popped the Mafia player, revealing his identity, and as we already know, it was Action, an old friend of his. But Wemmbu killing those golden streams led to something bigger. Mafia sent him a challenge, Diamond Stream. Diamond Stream was the best rank you could get in the Mafia, and all of the Diamond Stream players are given a mace, so Wemmbu could get a taste of his own medicine. They agreed on no restocks and started fighting. But the fight fell off, the Diamond player wasn't using the mace. The fight ended up in Wemmbu running, because the Diamond player caught him restocking, so he caught two golden streams for help. Later, when they tell Manepear about it, he acts a bit weird, and tells Wemmbu and Action to immediately rush to the place where they were just fighting before. They were able to catch the diamond player, but he was able to run away from them. And remember, as I was talking about the stasis chambers, the Mafia had pulled Action's stasis chamber, making out of him hostage to get Wembu's mace. Action was able to message Wembu courts, so he got there and the one Mafia player that was there was the diamond room. Wembu was able to quickly pop his totem, revealing his identity. It was Flamefrags. And that's how started the biggest rivalry on the unstable SMP. They started fighting, but Flamefrags was prepared. He brought slow-falling arrows, which prevented Wemmbu from macing, making it mostly sword and shield fight, in which Flamefrags absolutely dominated, resulting in Wemmbu giving up the mace and freeing action. After the devastating loss, they came back to Manepear's base, but Manepear wasn't there. They just found a sign saying, "Lost cause." But with Manepear no longer being in his base, the base got some attention of the Mafia. So they sent Clown and Fairy, who are allied with the Mafia and are some of the strongest players on the unstable SMP. And like, Wemmbu wasn't bad at PvP, but like him being in a 2v1, if he don't connection, and not having a mace, he had almost no chance of winning, causing him to run and letting Clown and Fairy burn down Main's base. After that, he decided to team up with Parrot and Spoke to destroy the Mafia, but he probably just wanted them to get him a mace, which they did. They have formulated a plan in which Wemmbu mostly served as a distraction, distracting Clownfears from guarding the stasis chambers, which led to Spoke breaking them and causing the Mafia to fall apart. After that, Wemmbu went up doing some side quests, fighting against players like Theobald the Bird, Jadenman and others. But no matter how many times he won, he was still thinking about that one time Flamefrags beat him. He wanted to show that he's better than him. So he tracked down Flame's base, knocked on his door and started yapping about how he wants to be the strongest player on the unstable SMP and how he wants to get revenge on Flame. So they have started fighting and the fight ended up in a draw. Because Flamefrags didn't want to fight outside, because Wemmbu was just constantly flying in the air and macing him. He didn't have slow falling this time, and Wemmbu didn't want to fight inside because he couldn't use the mace there. So the fight ended up in a stalemate. But Wemmbu wasn't done. Yes, he didn't lose to Flamefrags, but he also didn't win. So when he heard that Flamefrags was signing up for a PvP tournament with all the best players in it, he signed up too. The tournament consisted of fighting in a 1v1 in which you have 3 totems. So you have to pop 3 totems of your opponents to win the fight. But it had a catch for Wemmbu. You know, when Wemmbu is fighting on the unstable SMP, he mostly uses a technique called Elytra Macing, in which he uses his Elytra with fireworks and mace to deal insane damage insanely fast. But in this tournament, Elytras were banned, meaning that Wemmbu would have to get creative if he wanted to win the fight Flamefrags. First fights were pretty easy, because Wemmbu was like one of the best at that moment, and in his next fight he was fighting a guy named Sharpness, who is like really good at sword PvP. And Wemmbu didn't want to use his mace rules, because if Flamefrags saw them, then they would be useless when he would be fighting against him. Wemmbu was losing the fight, but then he realized that for some reason Flame wasn't watching, meaning that Wemmbu could use all the tricks in his sleeve. So he did, and he won. In his next fight, he was fighting for the #1 place in the tournament. And against who? If you said Flamefrags, you're right. So they were fighting and fighting and fighting. At one moment, Wemmbu was even winning by him having 2 totems and Flamefrags only 1. But Flamefrags started to be more aware of his mace tricks and beat him. But when he was fighting Sharpness the other day, he stole his mace, and Wemmbu wanted it back because it was like his fighting style. So he found out that Sharpness was traveling beyond Minecraft Farlands. For those who don't know, Farlands are a glitch terrain 12 million blocks away from spawn. So he used some sort of Enderpearl launcher, I don't really know what it is, to get there. He fought Sharpness a couple of times, but he didn't really get the mace back. But when he was in there, he was getting haunted by a group that was made just to kill him. It was because in one of Wembu's side quests, he imprisoned Jadenman in some prison and Flamefrags recently broke him out. And Jadenman wanted to create some elite fighting group to hunt down Wembu, so they got some players and went hunting. As Wembu was running from them, he met a player in some building, which was weird, because almost 0 players were known to be beyond the Farlands, and even weirder was that someone was living there, because of the amount of glitches that are there. But otherwise, as expected, Wembu got in a fight with this guy. And the fight was pretty weird, because the guy was somehow able to call a TNT stab shot, which was something that can do the orbital strike cannon, but Wembu still managed to beat him. He continued exploring, but the hunt group finally caught up to him, and they almost killed him, but then Flamefrags suddenly decided that he's bored, so he betrayed them and together with Wembu beat the hunt group. After that fight, Flamefrags also gave Wembu his mace, which he obtained by scamming Sharpness. Flamefrags then headed back to not the Farlands terrain, but Wembu wanted to stay, because in the building where he found that guy, there was a sign saying that he has those crazy powers from the Forge, and Wembu wanted to obtain the powers so he could finally beat Flamefrags, because he realized that he can't beat him with skill, but he can beat him with power. So he traveled even further beyond the Minecraft Farlands, and after a bit of traveling, he found the end of the terrain, where there were no more blocks, with a player standing there and a sign saying, "Last warning, turn back now." Most players would just turn around and stop, but Wembu's hunger for power was stronger. He had beat the player and decided to start bridging, not even knowing if something was really there. Eventually, him and Action bridged to some huge build, so they just answered, meeting some 4 players who lived there. Some of the players that were standing in front of them, Wembu already fought on the way there, but they were acting nicely. But when Wembu asked them if they knew anything about the Forge, they said no. Eventually, after exploring the build, they found a compass in the room of the player who had the crazy powers, so they headed that way, leaving the palace and traveling, hoping to find something that could finally put Wembu to the same level or even higher as Flamefrags. As they arrived, Wembu realized that the pain of someone non-stop hunting him, fighting outnumbered fights, being betrayed and pushed around that led to this moment was worth it. Because what he saw in front of him was something that could destroy the whole unstable SMP. Because what was Wemmbu looking at were hundreds of orbital strike cannons with a machine that let you fire them whenever you want, wherever you want. When they've explored around, they've also seen two of the players in the palace, which was weird after they said that they don't know anything about the forge. They've chatted a bit about the forge, with Wemmbu saying that this was the forge and them saying that the forge is in the palace, which led to them going back to the palace to show Wemmbu in action the forge. Once they were in the palace, they climbed some stairs and they saw that there was an end portal the whole time. The leader of the palace group said that this was the forge and that if you want the powers from it, you need to go to the end portal. But Wemmbu was suspicious. He thought that they just wanted to get rid of them. And as they were arguing, Action spotted that one of the four players was aiming with a bow at Wemmbu to shoot him to the end portal. W Action, but Wemmbu still has to fight a 4v1. So he kills one, throws one into the void, and one goes to the void willingly, which puts the last guy in a pretty tough situation. But Wemmbu still needed one thing from him, because you need at least two players to set up the orbital strike cannons, and with Action being in another dimension, he was the only one that seemed available at the moment. So he helps Wemmbu set up the orbital strike cannons, and Wemmbu then leaves through the portal. With his new powers unlocked, he went through the end portal in the end, which took him to spawn. But to achieve his goal, he still needed to find Flamefrags. Therefore, he threatened a couple civilizations and used some of his orbital strike cannons, but no one seemed to know where he was. And he went up to his base, finding there some random player, which he just killed. I don't know why. But when he looked what the player had in his inventory, he somehow had a lone stone compass named Flamefrags. So he went there and just waited, cause like he had nothing else to do. But eventually, Flamefrags has arrived. He didn't know that Wemmbu would be there, so he wasn't at his best fighting conditions. But Wemmbu simply didn't care. He said his monologue and started the fight. It was a truly amazing fight, and Flamefrags was even holding his own for a while. But with Wemmbu having a mace and tens of orbital strike cannons, the fight was going in Wembu's favor, making Flamefrags run. And because of that, Wemmbu took from him the title of the strongest player on the unstable SMP. This was the story of Wemmbu on the unstable SMP. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And write in the comments whose story do you want to see next.